Welcome to Disconnected. As always, I'm always a little bit all over the place with my thoughts when it comes to pretty much any topic that I try to cover. I know that there's something going on, and sometimes I suspect I use this kind of YouTube setup to get my own head around things. I think a lot of people actually do that try their hand at this sort of thing, the sort of commenting or whatever. Now, as said before, the whole point of Disconnected is not to name, blame, shame, or be critical necessarily. Even it is more about trying to point out certain hypocrisies, dare I say, or or things that don't make sense, or where you can see that people have an argument and it's kind of disjointed. It doesn't marry up the things that they say to each other, or a comment in a debate doesn't marry up with the topic at hand. Things like that. So in a way, I've been a little bit hesitant. I mean, I've I kind of pointed certain things out about Peter Jordanson, and again, the problem I have is not that he says bad stuff or he says good stuff. It's that more of a case like he says all this stuff which is really relevant and really good information, in my opinion, obviously. But then there's this sprinkle of absolute hogwash in between. And so my fear is not is maybe my lack of trust in humanity, especially at the moment when we see what's going on and how people react and how things divide people. But my fear is always that somebody goes, oh, this person X is kind of respected and well esteemed, and he says all this stuff which is really good information, and a lot of people would agree with that. So now I'm going to believe everything that he says, and so maybe that's a fault of mine for not trusting humanity at this point in time, and people's ability to distinguish between this personality's ideas, between the good ones and the bad ones, being able to take the good ideologies and discard the bad ones. Or take the good advice and discard the bad advice. So, there are certain things which are just funny, though, which are just completely and utter bullshit, where you can see somebody just completely failing at truth, right? Now, this is a video where, this is not the only one, there's a few where Andrew Tate's lawyer, Tina Glandian, or whatever her name is obviously making excuses for Andrew Tate and saying, well, look, all these misogynistic things that he's been saying are just, now they're suddenly just role playing. He's just a character. It's just entertainment. So she says this.
A woman. There is no reasoning. There is no acceptable reason behind somebody encouraging somebody to coercively control a woman.
No, but I think, again, there's, for instance, when they talk about him being a misogynist, I've certainly heard interviews where he has said he believes men and women are equal. That's not the headlines that you read about. You hear the term misogynist all the time because of, a way of thought that he has about how, men and women might be different.
Let me read you something that I made a note of from the material that I see without even looking for it now on Instagram, since I did a bit of research into him. And for that reason, I'm sure you're doing a lot more research than I have into him as his lawyer. And I would be surprised if you hadn't seen stuff of this nature. This is a man you claim to see men and women as equal. Quote, females are the ultimate status symbol. People think I'm running around with these hoes, forgive me, because I like sex. That's nothing to do with the reason why I'm running around with these B word. I got these Bs just so everyone knows who the Don is. Who's got the big booty cuties with their name tattooed on them? Tate, only Tate. If I walk in a club, me and Tristan and 25, forgive me, bitches, who's the richest man in the club? Females are the ultimate status symbol amongst elite players. I go out and F and I come back to her. I don't care about her. I only love my girl. That's not cheating. That's exercise. I mean, That isn't a man
Sheila,
who's interested in women's rights, is it?
Sheila, what that sounds.
So again, like just that one kind of phrase there, like it's true. If a man is the coolest dude in the club, if he's got the prettiest girls with him, that's just how we are. But that doesn't. So just because that there's a certain truth there does not mean that him being him not being a misogynist, right?
Sounded to me like was rap lyrics. There are endless
forget rap lyrics. It was him speaking.
But he is a
he
public
said it.
person. But this is the thing. Why are you drawing a difference between something Andrew Tate, a public persona who obviously he's come out and publicly said a lot of what he says is satire.
Yes, but
he's admitted to that.
So are
we arresting rap artists?
So a lot of what he said is satire. Now, obviously you're going to start saying that when people, when you're in deep shit, you're going to start calling out that I'm just a comedian, I'm just an actor, this is just an online persona. When the shit hits the fan and you're possibly going to go to jail, then suddenly you come up with that shit. But when you say those exact same things in an online course that you actually sold to people as marketed as, this is how you should live to make your life better, it kind of destroys that argument a little bit.
Well, Tina, forgive me, but I'm not interviewing a rap artist's lawyer. I'm interviewing the lawyer of a man who is being held in extended custody in a Romanian prison on charges of people trafficking. I'm not interviewing a rapper's lawyer. I'm interviewing the lawyer of a man who frequently goes online and speaks in this way.
But that's the point. The point is right now, that's not what he's jailed for, right? And so it
doesn't help us to think he is a respecter of women's freedoms and rights.
So I'm going to stop that there purely because, that is true. I mean, obviously this whole thing was about, she's talking about his misogyny. The lawyer is only there to stop him getting jailed for, people trafficking. I think rape or something like that. I'm not sure. There was a few other ones. Now, this one is a good one as well.
And the kind of beast that can handle a woman like me.
I'm going to answer it based on your last sentence. Your last sentence was handle a woman like me. The average man's life, like I just discussed earlier, how difficult it is, how competitive he has to be. Do you think he wants to handle any woman? The point of having a woman as a man, for me at least, is for her to be my peace and quiet. My life is stress. When I come home to my chick, the last thing I want to do is have to handle anything. She used to be my positive energy, my sunshine in the rainstorm.
Obviously we all want that. We all want that partner that is like, you come home and that's the person you can relax with. That's the person who, I don't know, maybe will rub your feet and shit. But the problem with this argument is that it goes both ways. You can't just have it one way. You also have to be that person, for the woman or your partner or whatever. I mean, that's where the misogyny lies. It doesn't lie with the fact that, or in this phrase, for example, it doesn't lie with the fact that it is pretty normal for us all. We would like that person. We come home and we've had a stressful day, and when we come home, that's where we are loved, that's where we are safe, that's where we are comfortable, that's where we have no stress, that's where we have the people that give us peace, who we want to be with. That's why we work, so that we come home into that place. And so there's nothing wrong with that, up to the point where it's just about him saying, well, that's what he wants when he gets home, because it's a relationship. It doesn't matter if it's man, woman. We all want that. So that's where the misogynism comes in. It's like, there's nothing wrong with us wanting that from a relationship. But once you only want it for yourself and not prepared to offer it back, that's where the misogyny lies.
No, I couldn't. There's too many. There's no way. So I wasn't sleeping with most of them. I say up to 75, I was probably still only sleeping with 5 or 6. I tried to go very legit businessman with it and not sleep with the girls, etc. But that's when I learned my lessons, right? I learned so many lessons from that period of my life about male-female dynamics. So many lessons. And I learned that women are loyal to the dick they want to suck and nothing else. And if they're not having sex with you, they're going to have sex with somebody else. They're not going to go sexless. And whoever they're having sex with, is the person they're going to listen to ultimately. And that person does not want them naked in another dude's house. Why would they? Right? So I was trying to motivate girls with money. So the girls who loved me and worked for me, my main girlfriends, they'd get...
I forgot why I wanted to show this clip. I think it has to do with a few things. Number one, I don't have a problem with people speaking brashly. Like the way he's talking, I don't necessarily have a problem with somebody just calling a duck, for example. So it's not really about the language. It's about how this escalates.
Probably around 20% of their money. I'd keep 80% of the money they made. So they basically worked for free. They worked for my love and attention. The other...
So that whole sentence, like, remember, he's being done for, or is intended to be done for people trafficking. But there should maybe be exploitation here too. I mean, he says it himself. They basically work for free.
Of their money, I'd keep 80% of the money they made. So they basically worked for free. They worked for my love and attention. The other girls was the other way around.
So that part is obviously the people that he could manipulate, he did. And the people he couldn't manipulate, it was other ways.
Keep 20% for all the help I gave them, the premises, the typing. Because by that time I had a room of typers. I had like 4 or 5 girls who were full-time professional typers. They were ugly, but they were smart. And then I had the pretty girls on the cameras. So I had like a professional setup. So I was taking 20% of the money from them and they'd get 80% of the money. So I was trying to motivate them with money, but motivating with money doesn't work for 2 reasons. The first reason is...
No, there was another video. Where was that? Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna make 2 videos actually. This video here, the screenshot that you see, I'm gonna make another video about this because this is the funniest shit you've ever seen, and it is awesome. It is awesome. It's wholesome. It is just one of the best videos about that has Andrew Tate as a topic in any shape or form. Anyway, there's a few ones here. Why women shouldn't drive. Now, please tell me this guy's not a fucking misogynist.
Have you guys heard of Andrew Tate before?
No.
No. The kickboxing world champion?
No. No.
Tons of hoes?
No. Hose?
Yeah.
Like ho-hos?
He's got his hoes.
Hose. Like hose?
Yeah, girls shouldn't drive. Yeah, haram.
Yeah. So
wait. What was that? It's haram for girls to drive.
Of course it is.
Why is that?
I believe if you're in a difficult situation in a plane and the pilot, the first person going to panic is the female. I believe that females panic quicker than men. I believe that's evolutionary. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We have different roles in society and life. Women do different things better than men. However, when it comes...
So I guess that's the problem. He believes, right? I mean, if you always look at women from that perspective, that is all you'll see. And that is a big problem in our society anyway. If I live in a Democrat... from a Democrat viewpoint, I'll only see my Democrat viewpoint. If I live from a Republican viewpoint, I only see a Republican viewpoint. If I only live, as a race from a racist viewpoint, if I only live from a black person's viewpoint, I don't make real efforts to see the bigger picture. I mean, I can tell you for one thing, most of the women driver I know, they're not racing drivers. They're not this, that, or the other, but they're good drivers. And I think, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about driving, racing driving, or are we talking about driving on the road, being safe, keeping the passengers safe, keeping other drivers on the road safe, that good driving? Here's another thing. I've seen every time I've been on the plane lately, in the last 10 years, I've seen more and more women pilots. But here's one of the coolest things. It's like one of the only scheduled flight that lands on the beach is one that goes between Glasgow and Barra. And that is a really, really difficult. It's a short hop. It's like the small kind of prop planes that take off in Glasgow that land on a huge long beach. Now, anybody that knows Scotland knows that the weather here is shocking, and the further west you go towards the Western Isles, the more regular the weather is, just horrendous. It's always windy, it's always stormy. It lands on a beach, which, they land as the tide is a little bit in and when it's out. This is a really, really tricky flight and landing. And the pilot is a female, a very young female as well. I mean, they wouldn't allow this female to fly if they felt like she couldn't handle it. Now, he does say, well, look, just because one can do it doesn't mean that the general females can do it. Now, this has nothing to do with male or female. This has to do with, like, panicking is the same thing. Most people panic. Men will panic in bad situations as well, unless you are trained not to panic, or unless you are used to that situation, unless you are experienced in those situations. This is nothing to do with male or female. This has to do with, are you experienced? Are you ready? You know, are you trained enough to expect and what to do in certain circumstances? It's just a silly thing to say.
Some little pussy ass dude once said to me, "Yeah, but if it's next to your bed, what if you like upset a girl and she catches you cheating and gets a machete?" Bro, what would a woman do? Yeah, slap the machete, slap her in the face, one hand, machete, and then backhand. I perfected this in pimp school. When I got my PhD, we had to practice if a girl comes at you.
Pimp PhD. So this is the problem with this. So I've got no problem with, like, a woman attacks you and you have to defend yourself. You might have to do something aggressive. Okay, that's completely understandable, even most likely in the eyes of the law. But the difference here is that he is putting this as a point of view of somebody who's antagonized that person in the first place by being a pimp and cheating on them and them getting angry. So it's not just a case of some crazy woman or somebody who is criminal and wants something from you and attacks you. This is about, you know, a situation where she's basically being antagonized, and then to be so dismissive about the violence against them, because he actually goes on to say the following:
You're cheating. It's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and grip her up by the neck. Shut up, bitch!
So that's what he's saying. If a woman caught him.
So, like, you know, what was that other thing? I wish I knew what that other thing was. I've put that away somewhere. Which is a shame, because there was a really good section which I've lost. Anyway, that's my take on Tate. The problem I have with him is very simple. Number one, he's this really well-spoken, slick individual which is easy to manipulate, with which persona it's easy to manipulate the weak. Because let's face it, he preys on weak men. No normal, strong-minded, normal man is going to go and go, "Oh, Jesus, Andrew Tate. I mean, that's who I want to be like." No normal, strong, well-adjusted, happy man is going to go and become some sort of Tate fanboy. This is definitely a attempt to prey on the weak, those that don't have any, the incels of the world, the losers of the world, you know, the young, the pliable, the malleable. Those are his followers. Those are the people who are most likely to, you know, to hang on his lips and listen and believe the things that he has to say. Now, like I said before, the problem with this whole thing is that essentially there's a few things, you know, taking responsibility, you know, be strong, work hard, love your family, and take care of people around you, you know. These are all honest to goodness, brilliant things. But honestly, does any normal person really need to be told that? I mean, if that's true, then that's even sadder than the fact that Andrew Tate even exists to have a platform. And I suppose that's probably part of the problem, is that the reason folks like Andrew Tate become popular is because we have this completely fucked up society where you have people that feel like somebody like Andrew Tate has some value to give them in their life, you know. Anyway, thanks for listening.